Welcome to another episode of the War Locker. I'm Chuck. Tom couldn't join us today, but we are here with Chris Michael. Chris is a retired police captain with 25 years of service as a police officer in a large metro Atlanta area department. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good, man. So I was reading through a lot of your stuff. We were kind of talking about that before. That's a resume, and it's very interesting. I think you've dealt with a lot of stuff, battled a lot of things, and we're going to get into that today. But before we get started, I just want to let you know, it's an hour. We try to keep it at an hour, so I don't want to keep you here too long, but we're here for an hour, so we're going to try to get in as much as we can. But we always like to start off with how you got into this. What drew you to law enforcement?
I needed a job with insurance. I didn't grow up wanting to be a cop. That's just the path that life took me down.
Right.
So.
Wow. Okay. I mean, but you had 25 years, so you must have liked it at some point. You really like it and be like, this is it.
Yeah. I absolutely loved it. Yeah. I actually started out with my county at the Animal Control Services. And spent 5 years there, and then it's like, I started being around cops and seeing what they were doing. I was like, that job looks a lot more fun than what I'm doing. So I switched over in '98.
Okay,
so that's the reason I had 25 years as a police, because I had 30 for retirement from the county, but 5 of it was with animal services.
Oh, got it. So you're like, I'm going from arresting dogs and cats to arresting people. And then you realize there's a lot more paperwork to be done when you arrest people. So you had a long career. I would say 25 years and 30 years total of service for your either your state or your city or your county. That's a long time. And you worked during a lot of times in Atlanta. I mean, you worked through some really rough times in Atlanta. I mean, I know I was on during the COVID and the riots and all that stuff, and you boys had it rough over there.
Well, it was a little worse inside the city.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, what? It was like a walkout.
Yeah, our county had a reputation because we had the county police, the county sheriff, and 6 city police departments within the county. So there's a lot of cops, and we had a reputation. There was very, very little in the way of demonstrations or anything like that within our county.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good, because I mean, I was seeing coppers walk out and people get fired. I was like, whoa, this is a crazy time to be in law enforcement. We had a bunch of people get fired for like the vaccines and stuff and all that craziness, and it was wild.
Yeah. I saw that going on around the county, or around the country, but that really didn't affect us all that much.
Okay. So in your 25 years in law enforcement, I know you were you promoted and stuff. What was the things that what's your rap sheet? Like what are the things that you did during your career from like the beginning to the end, and then we'll get into all the nitty-gritty stuff on the incidents you're involved in and how you got through that and how it kind of changed you and how you move forward with that and all that stuff, because I believe you're an advocate for mental health, correct?
Yeah, I am. So 98 is when I switched over to the police department, and I was assigned to the busiest, highest crime area in the county, and I spent 12 years there working patrol. After 12 years, I promoted to sergeant and went over to probably the least crime area of the county. And it was basically culture shock, because I drove through a neighborhood once and somebody waved and I didn't know what waving with all 5 fingers meant. So, I spent a few years as a sergeant, was in not patrol. I went to a different unit called Quality of Life, where basically we did the codes and the broken window theory stuff.
Yeah.
And got into a lot of stuff in that unit. We were called the grass police, but as a joke, but we got into a lot of stuff there.
Probably a lot of dopers, right? Going into a lot of those houses and stuff like that.
Yeah, we would use, trash in the yard as probable cause to go knock on the door. And we arrested robbers and murderers. And we got all kinds of stuff in that unit. Um, and then after, I say, about 5 years as a sergeant, I promoted to lieutenant. And it wasn't until I made lieutenant that I actually had that crash to where I responded to a call as a lieutenant with one of my officers, and the call was so bad that is what sent me into a tailspin of depression and anxiety and all the others, and the suicidal ideation. But struggled through it, and as we do, we hit it, and sucked it up, went on, and ended up making captain, and that's the journey where I started realizing the mental health aspect of it and getting into that, and became the peer support commander as well as an assistant precinct commander, doing dual role there until I retired.
Oh, wow. I too was in peer support and peer counseling. Was in it for about 7 years on my department. And, I specialized in vet to vet and obviously cop to cop, but there were certain things like I specialized in OIS, divorce, because these are all the things I've gone through. And if I went through it and I could get through it, I could try to help someone else to get through it. So that's a big thing for me. And I've helped some of my people at my division out, with all that. And I think that's so important for agencies to have, because there are times where cops need help and they need to talk to someone, and they don't want to go to the department shrink, because they're afraid of being put on the, rubber gun squad, or, having a banana for a gun, like they don't want to get that stuff taken away from them. So they never say it, and they keep it in bottled up. And then we all know what happens with that. It's not good.
Yeah. Well, a mental health professional being part of the department is very rare in this part of the world.
Wow.
If you go to somebody, you're going to somebody that's either contracted or you're just going to a private practice.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So we had our guys didn't want to do it, because we have stuff at the divisional level or the department level where you can go, and if you get involved in the OIS, they force you to go, and they make you have 2 visits before you're able to go back.
No, we would do a fitness for duty with a psychologist that was contracted, but I went to that psychologist 3 times for the incidents that I was involved in. And I kid you not, the third time I walked in there, he's like, "Oh, hey, you again. So how's the family? You good?" "Yeah, I'm good." "You ready to go back to work?" "Yep." "All right." And I'd be back at work within a day or 2.
Wow. Yeah, I think our policy now, the original OG policy was try to be there, then back the next day, get cleared as fast as possible. And I was like, that's not healthy.
Yeah. And that's what it was. You try to get back to show everybody that you're good with it. And you had up to 10 days of admin leave to get all the stuff done, but you'd push through it to get back on the road.
Right. It was the culture, right?
Yeah.
It was, I don't want to be seen as weak around my peers and my buddies. I don't want to be seen weak around my my superiors. I want them to know that I'm tough, and this was what makes me tough. But I think it's not. It's what makes you weak, because you're not speaking up.
Yeah. Well, and the other aspect of it was being shorthanded. I am
That
leaving
too,
my
yeah.
guys. I'm leaving an open beat. I got to get back on the road so I can back them up and be there for them.
Right. And that's different too. So I came different culture, different mindset from a bigger agency. Like, we have people to back us up. Like, if I'm calling sick one day, we might be down on an officer, but it's not going to be a small agency where like you call in and they're calling someone in off of work to come in to cover. Like, totally different. It was different. So I get that aspect, and that, you want to be there for your boys and your brothers and your sisters, so you don't leave them. That's different.
Well, the reality is we weren't really needed, because, like you said,
right.
The department I work for is 700 sworn, so it's not a small department.
No, that's decent.
There's plenty of officers, but there's 5 precincts, and they're broken up into either 8 or 10 beats, and so the whole county is only 345 square miles. That's
okay,
because Georgia has 159 counties, so the counties are very small. You compare our counties to the stuff out west, and you would just go, that's a foot beat, dude. You kind of think the comparison is just so fast. But but out of 8 beats, if you had 1 beat open, you felt like you were short, and you felt like but you got 7 officers covering 1/5 of the county.
Yeah.
They got it, but you still feel like you needed to be there.
100%. It's that brother, like that band of brother type of thing. The brothers to your left and to your right, and that's who you really serve for. That's who you're fighting for.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, because they're the ones right next to you, shoulder to shoulder, and you don't want to let them down. That's that camaraderie that you build. But after mine, I don't know how your OAS went, but like after mine, I was like, no, I'm gonna take my time because I need it. And because I was angry, I was upset, I was feeling all these emotions. And then my partner, who was there, they all witnessed it. They were all there with me. I just was the only person to pull the trigger, right? And here nor there, it is what it is. It was quick, it's fast. Shit moves really fast. But they were all affected by it too. They were all there. Just because they didn't pull the trigger doesn't mean anything different and anything less. But it was it was a good amount. It was like 5 of us. So taking all of them out of service for 2 weeks, that's not going to fly. But I was like, you guys should at least have a day or two, because trying to go back to work, and they got forced to go back in. We were all overtime, almost 24 hours there. Then they're like, hey, you need to come in to work tonight. And they called me afterwards, and they're like, I couldn't do it. Like, that was rough. That sucked. I had to go home early because something popped outside, and I was like, oh shit. Like, it was like that traumatic experience that you just were a part of and witnessed and got shot at 12 hours ago. Now you're back on the street, and it's just, it's not an easy feeling. And I felt like that when I came back, like it was day one back, foot pursuit. Like I was like, I'm going to get into another OIS. Like, my heart was racing, and the anxiety was there. You're like, holy shit. But you ease back into it. But that was rough, and I can only imagine 12 hours or 18 hours later coming in from a shooting, 12 hours for them, it was 12 hours. I couldn't imagine working like that. That's rough. That's tough. How did you do it? How did you come back from an OIS and get back into it and, try to act like it wasn't affecting you?
Well, I'm going to preface this with, I've looked into things, and there was an article that I found. And the name of it was "It's Okay to Be Okay."
Okay.
And my first OIS was a guy that was out of his mind on drugs. And he came out of the house, pointed a gun at us. There were several of us there. And after I shot him, I felt no emotion. I did my job. The training kicked in. This man made a decision that forced me to do what I had to do. And it was, there was nothing. There was no emotion. I hated that his family had lost him, but that was his call. He made those decisions. So the investigation, well, he fell off the front porch. We pried the gun out of his hand. I stepped over him and handcuffed him. As soon as the handcuffs were secured, my sergeant looked at me and said, go notify the family. So I was sent from the scene to go do the death notification of the person that I had just killed by myself. There was,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah. So I drove out of the neighborhood where we had sent the family for safety, because they'd been in the house and evacuated. So we had them waiting for us. So I went and met with them, and they all come rushing up to me and said, what happened? And I went, well, we had to shoot him. And I pulled out my notepad and started taking notes. And then I drove her around the neighborhood picking up stuff for the baby. And we went back, and the detective took us through the house, and she showed us where she had hidden the gun and lied to us about him having a gun and said he didn't have any weapons. And then we went up and did the criminal investigation with the detectives, went straight to internal affairs, did that investigation, and I was at home by the end of the shift. It was because it was the very first call of the morning.
Oh, wow.
And it was on a Sunday morning, and I got home, and then the next thing, I think it was the next day, I went to the psychologist for the fitness for duty, and he said, you good? And I said, I'm good. And few questions, and I'm like, all right. He goes, well, are you ready to go back to work? I was like, well, I got vacation time coming up. He goes, you know what? You're on admin leave. Save your vacation. So it just all kind of rolled in together. And when I got done with my vacation days, I came back to work.
Oh wow. That's crazy. That's interesting. How do you feel like did that help you when you gave the death notification yourself and then drove around with his now widow picking up stuff for the baby? Was that how hard? What was it hard and how hard was it? Or did it was it
It wasn't,
to make
like I
things
said,
easier?
it's, and I had to look into this and I actually asked myself, is there something wrong with me because I don't feel emotion over this?
Right.
Um, and then when I read that paper from a psychologist that said some people, they're okay with it. You did your
Sure.
job. It's
Yeah.
not like I woke up that morning and go, you know what? I want to go kill somebody. That's not what happened.
No.
I was put into that situation.
Yeah.
I knew that situation could come up when I signed on to do the job. And so when that situation did come up, I was
Mhm.
mentally prepared for it, and it didn't bother me at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've talked to a lot of guys, and they're like, "Yeah, at the beginning, it didn't affect me at all." Like, I know for me, being shot at was that's what was like the loud noise was like, "Oh crap!" Like that's
Mhm.
what caused me a heart trace. But that night when I went home to go to sleep, I thought I was gonna have nightmares, and like the first like it's gonna just kick right in right at the beginning, and it didn't. I slept like a baby that first night. I just boom racked out like no problem to sleep. And I woke up and I was probably because of the adrenaline dump.
Mhm.
I slept like a rock and I was like, I haven't had slept like that in a really long time. Um, and
Well,
then
we could get into a lot of, we would take way more than an hour, but
yeah,
the way the brain works
mhm,
is, we shouldn't be interviewed immediately after a traumatic event.
I agree.
You need 2 sleep cycles for the brain to properly process those memories so that you can remember them and recall them correctly. So that was the biggest stressful part for me, was when I went home that night. Like I said, the criminal investigation was complete. The interview was complete. The IA investigation interview was complete. And I went home that night and I'm laying there, and then my brain started, replaying it. And I went, oh, I told them this, but now I'm remembering it this way. And that was my biggest worry, was that they were going to think I had lied. I
Yeah.
simply didn't remember it because it happened so fast. I didn't remember it.
So
So the next morning I'm on the phone going, guys, I did not lie to you, but this is how I remember it now.
yeah. So great example of that. My partner, he was involved in a shooting where he got him and his partner is before me. Um, and him and his partner got ambushed in their car. They took, I don't know, was it like 20 rounds through the windshield? And they're in seatbelts. They were responding to a 211 in progress. Once they get to the robbery at scene, guy takes off, pursuit pursuit ensues. He crashes, bails out of his car. As he's bailing out of the car, they're coming up behind him. They're going to start to bail out, but they were in a mini pursuit, right? So they're all
Mhm.
buckled up. As they're getting ready, before they even have a chance to release their seatbelts, because they're coming to a stop, suspects opening fire on them. Puts like, I don't know, maybe like 15, 20 rounds, maybe more into the windshield. But I remember seeing the pictures of the car, and I was like, how did they survive?
Yeah.
How the fuck did they survive? And so they're taking all these rounds through the windows, and then they're able to get out. My partner, he's shooting through the window, and he's punching, putting rounds down range. It's blowing out their hearing now because they're not wearing ear pro, obviously, because
Right.
you're on patrol, you're not at the range, and so they're shooting in an enclosed space, and it's just louder. And then they finally kick the door open, and they shoot him. And he runs over the fence. They're like, I don't know if he got hit, but we have to return fire because we're stuck in the car, and that allowed them to get out of the car. And by God's grace, none of them got hit. Not one of them got hit. There was rounds in the freaking headrest. There was rounds in the top of the car, into the dash, all throughout the window. Like it just all went around him. Um, and I don't know how, but it did. And he was involved in that shooting. And then when he had the interview, they're like, "What happened?" He's like, "I don't remember. I don't remember." And then they basically ostracized him. He's like, "I don't fucking remember, guys."
Yeah.
And there are studies, like I was starting to look into too. And I was like, oh wow, there's actually studies out there that show your brain doesn't remember, or it suppressed it to a point because it was so traumatic that it takes time for that to resurface.
Yep.
And when you interview, depending on the time of day, it could be pretty quick. Supervisor comes to scene, secures the scene. You get split up from your partner. You hand in your duty pistol or whatever you shot with. Then they segregate you into an area where only you and that supervisor, because that's how they did it for us. You and that supervisor sit there, and then they interview you. And it could be quick if they're there, or in the area. You could be interviewed in 2 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be 5 hours, 6 hours. It just depends, time of day. And he didn't remember at all, and I don't know if he ever did, but he probably got to a point, even if he did remember, he's not going to come back because of the way he was treated, right?
Right.
Because he looked down upon that, and they're like, "Oh, you can remember, what's wrong with you?" And he's like, "Nothing, dude. I almost died. Like, what are you talking about?" And he remembered after the fact, like long time down the road, or I don't know how long down the road, but he ended up remembering. So yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. That's valid for sure, and that's happened to a partner of mine.
Yeah, there's plenty of evidence out there that when the brain is going through a traumatic event, it's recording differently than you and I are recording memory right now.
Absolutely.
Right. So how many rounds did you shoot? I shot 1 round. No, you magged up. You emptied your magazine. Oh, I thought I only shot once. And that's a legitimate memory. Right. So, which is funny because my first shooting, when he came out, I was told he shot at us. Now y'all are different. Y'all got shot at. You knew you were being shot at. I was so focused on him, I didn't even know that he had fired a round. They said they heard it in the audio when they went back and did the investigation. But I fired one single round because I was so focused on him. I didn't see the porch pickets on the front porch. And I killed one of those little 1.5-inch pickets because I saw the wood blow up. So I adjusted fire and shot over the railing. Once I focused, realized it was there, and I shot over it. But as soon as that was over, I was like, I fired 3 rounds. I had that conscious thought because of so many stories where officers didn't know how many rounds they fired because of the intensity of the moment. Yeah. But I had that, okay, well, I fired 3 rounds. Now, the scariest part of that afterwards was the detectives put us all back where we were, right? Or everybody stand where you were when you fired. I was like, who else fired? I thought I was the only one that shot. I had no idea anybody else had fired.
Right. That tunnel vision comes in.
Tunnel vision, the auditory exclusion, all that. I did not hear any of the guns behind me. 3 other people behind me shot.
Oh, no shit.
And one of them, I hear, oh my God, I didn't even see you standing there. He had fired over my right shoulder with buckshot.
Oh.
Yeah. And his tunnel vision, he said, I didn't even know you were there. You didn't register.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think that would scare me more than anything else. Like I'd be like, oh my God, like looking who's around me and who's behind me.
Yeah.
That's
the reality of it, because when you focus so hard on the threat that is endangering you, everything closes in and you just you focus on that. And sometimes that's why we hurt each other by accident.
Absolutely. And my other partner, he got into OAS, and he lit up the suspect's arm where she was holding the gun, pointing the gun at him, and he just destroyed the arm, the gun, the shoulder that it was in,
Yep.
And because he's like, yeah, that's just where I was focusing. And then he did some research. He's like, it's because of the threat.
Yep.
That's where you when you see the threat becomes the biggest thing that you see, and you go straight to the threat to stop the threat, but you're looking at the gun, right?
Yep.
And that's why a lot of people hit the gun, the hand, the arm, where the person's holding it. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And going back to the whole, like, how many rounds, we got shot at, right? I shot back, and I was like, I think I shot 6 rounds. That's about what I was trying to count the brass on the ground. I was walking away. I was like, I think it was 6. I don't remember. I'm just going to say, I don't know, approximately 6, just ballpark it. I'm not going to go lower than that and try to go higher. And I shot like 8 or 9. I think it was 9. And it was crazy, but I don't know. Shootings are wild. And it's a lot of people that I've talked to have been involved in them. It wasn't the day after. I mean, it was the going back to work, hearing loud pops and stuff like that after being shot at was one thing. But when you actually talking with other people, they're like, oh wow, yeah, like a month later, that's when it started kicking in, or a year later, or 6 months later. Everyone's different. And that it was like a week later for me with loud, because they started blowing off fireworks, because it was around that time. It was right before 4th of July, so people were blowing that shit off, and that I think was the hardest thing for me when I got done, because they were blowing these things off in the neighborhood, and I was just like sitting in my house going, oh my god, I can't stop my heart, like it sucks. Did you ever have anything like that? Experience anything like that?
I didn't, but you said something a minute ago that I wanted to reiterate is
Sure.
Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
It annoys me to no end when somebody says, well, I've been through that. I dealt with it. Why can't you? Because we're different.
Totally different. Yeah.
Right. And the time frame is different. There is no linear. It's going to happen tomorrow or the next day. It could happen 6 months from now, or like you, it could happen when something reminds you of it or triggers something. So, but no, I never had any of the problems with. Now after retirement became a whole different story.
Right. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But I know we kind of jumped in right at the OASs, kind of just got right into the meat and potatoes, but I do want to ask you,
okay,
and then I want to get into the whole mental health with after retirement, because I dealt with some of that stuff myself, when everything got quiet and stopped. But what was your favorite spot in law enforcement and while you were in your 25 years working? Like, what was it? Patrol? Was it a certain unit? Was it that unit where you did the broken window theory stuff?
Looking back, there was good aspects of most all of it. I loved being a uniformed patrol officer. I loved going out to 911 calls and dealing with it, the chases, on foot or in a car, or whatever came along. Every day was different, right? So I loved being a patrolman. I almost didn't test for sergeant. In fact, the first 2 times that I was eligible to test, one time I was like, yeah, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for it. And the second time I just forgot to go take the test. So you see what a priority it was for me. And they did the test every 2 years. So I'm like, another 2 years going to go by. So, but I loved it. So 12 years, I was a patrolman. And in that time, on my way to work, I was involved in that head-on collision that killed the other driver. I was involved in the 2 shootings, the 3 with my beat partner being shot on a call. But, along with all the homicides and suicides and fatality accidents, all that stuff that comes with that, I did not realize was accumulating, and I'm still loving the job.
Right.
As a sergeant, that's when I went to that other unit, and we had the freedom to go all over the county, do what we wanted to. We had complete autonomy. I mean, it was, awesome. The boss would call, hey, where are you at? What are you doing today? And I'm like, this is what we're doing. He's like, okay. So we kind of just did what we wanted to do, but we had results. We actually worked, and we got those results, and I loved it. But I think looking back over the whole thing, I think being a captain, having gone through what I did, and then starting to help other officers in that mental health role, I think was the highlight of my career.
Right. Yeah. It's so gratifying when you get to help a fellow brother or sister going through something, and you're doing it in an official capacity, and then you see them get better, and you see the help that is actually being done, and other people feel, better too, because they now know they have someone to talk to, and they don't have to go to a shrink. You know what I mean? And I feel like they feel more empowered to speak and talk to other people, because we had a bunch of different peer support people, or peer support counselors, or whatever you want to call it. And, just being able to talk to them and knowing that they have a place where they can go that is completely confidential, and we don't report back to anyone. We don't give reports on who we talked to, what we talked about. We don't go to shrinks. We don't tell anyone. No one, they can't even subpoena our shit. The only time we were able to tell is we have to tell because we're mandated, is if it's major misconduct, like murder, rape, shit like that, kidnapping, anything crazy like that. You got a dead hooker in your squad car, or at home, or you beat the shit out of your wife and you're telling me about that, and like it's major misconduct. You tell them up front, like, hey, if this is major misconduct, I have to report it.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, like they're like, hey, like this happened, you're like, I'm struggling, and they have someone to talk to and you can get them help on the down low and they feel more empowered. And I think that keeps coppers healthier longer because they have an outlet to talk to. It's okay to be okay too. It's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's everyone's body's different. Like we said, everyone has emotions. They all process things differently. They all go through things differently. And when you're going through it, it sucks. It's the fucking worst thing in the world. And to know that you have that outlet to talk to, even if you don't utilize, just knowing it's there helps. And I loved it when people talk to me. It was awesome. It was super, super gratifying experience. And that's probably why I got into this stuff, and with my partner, Tom, this is important. It's great to talk to other people. It's great to let them have a place to vent. And for other people listening, it lets them know that they're not alone, right? It lets them know that, okay, it's okay to feel like that. It's okay he went through it. Fuck, if he went through it, I can get through it. Like listening to your story, that shit was rough and you still made captain, right? And then you started turning around to help others.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume a catalyst of that was that accident you were involved in, that head-on collision. What happened with that?
I was on my way to work. That was back in 2001. I was still really new at the time. But 2-lane road going around a curve, and there's a Jeep coming around my side of the road. Nowhere to go. They teach us steer to the right, get off the road. You can't steer left and whatever, but there was a big ditch and an embankment. There was nowhere for me to go. And this actually helped me learn more about the brain and how it works and how fast things develop, how time changes, your perception of distance, your perception of time, all of that is different. So when you're being interviewed and you're going, oh my God, why am I wrong about this? It's because that's how your brain works. So, I had time to go, okay, well, I have nowhere to go. This is the kind of stuff that kills people. Okay, this is going to hurt. And I just braced for impact. And a lady had been following her on the phone with 911, calling in an impaired driver to the dispatch. So she was right there when it happened and saw it. And she come running up to me. Now I'm trapped in my vehicle. My door won't open. I'm in uniform. So my first instinct is to reach up and get the radio and start calling it in and being the police.
Right.
And she goes, are you okay? I was like, I'm hurt, but I'm okay. I've wiggled my fingers and toes to make sure everything works from top to bottom. And, I'm good. Go check on the other lady. And so she went and checked on her. She comes back. She goes, she's in the middle of the road gurgling. I'm like, oh, okay, radio, there's been an injection, and I'm calling in the updates. And a few seconds later, an off-duty firefighter who happened to work in the same building that I worked in at the time come up, hitting the same thing. He goes, man, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm hurt, but go check on her. So he comes back. He goes, dude, she's dead. There's nothing I can do for her. She wasn't wearing her seatbelt, so she got ejected and split her head open on the A post. But that put me down for 9 months, because it broke my knee half in two. It didn't heal right. I had to have surgery. So that was more stressful than anything, because I lost my part-time jobs. Can't work the extra jobs here.
Yeah, I mean, you can't work when you're out injured, especially not when it's your knee, and then you have to have surgery on it. I've had 4 knee surgeries. Still have to have another one. So it's like, I get it, man. Like that shit sucks.
But then that goes forward to the next really bad wreck that I had during a pursuit. The bad guy actually told us that he watched cops in NASCAR, and this is his words, I knowed he was going to use that bashing maneuver on me, so I just did it to him first. And then the dash,
so he tried to pit you.
The dash cam is awesome. He did the most perfect pit on himself. He put his trunk against my engine and turned and spun himself out so perfectly, but I wasn't expecting it.
Right.
So I didn't actually realize what had happened. So I tensed up and pushed the gas, and my partner video behind me shows me pushing. It's a 5-lane road, right? 2 in each direction, the center turn lane. And so I pushed him across the center turn lane, across both oncoming traffic lanes, up an embankment and into the woods, and we disappeared into a cloud of dust.
Oh
And his
shit.
car went into the air, flew. I went underneath him. His car landed on my trunk. Now,
That's the most Dukes of Hazzard shit I've ever heard.
so the pictures aren't that big a deal. We're barely the ass ends of our vehicles are barely in the trees. In my head, this wreck was lasting forever. If you'd asked me, we went 300 yards through the woods. In my perception. During the collision, I actually said, "Well, this is my ODMP moment. This is how I end up on the wall. I let go of the steering wheel and accepted death, and waited for a tree to come through my windshield and impale me." And then,
oh my god,
this is the only time I actually became truly emotional in the job. I never took things personal, so I never actually got mad at much of anything dealing with perps. But when his car came down on mine, it imploded all the glass in on me, and then I felt a thump. I was like, and I'm driving a Crown Vic. This is an 06, I think.
okay.
I'm driving a Crown Vic's got 5,500 miles on it, almost a brand new car. And I felt this thump, and I was like, that son of a bitch is going to run for me after wrecking my new car? Oh, hell no. And I threw the door open, and I'm ready to go run through the woods and chase this guy. And when I turned, there's a man standing there that was 5 feet tall and weighed, I think his driver's license said 100 or 110 pounds. This tiny little man is standing there going, "Officer, are you okay?" And I was like, and I got my gun drawn. I was like, "Get on the goddamn ground." And he says, "But officer, are you okay?" I was like, "Get on the fucking ground before I kill you. It's just me and you out here in these woods, and I'm going to kill you if you don't listen to me." And I am just seething. And it's all over him wrecking the new car. That's all it was. I wasn't even hurt. I didn't have a scratch on me.
Right.
So,
So
my
mad
partner
about your
comes running
car.
up in the woods, and finally this guy has gotten down in the prone position. And my partner comes. I said, "Matt, handcuff this son of a bitch before I kill him." I said, "If I put my hands on him, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to rip him apart." And he got him handcuffed. I said, "Matt, are you good? Do you have him?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm good." And I holstered it and I walked off. And
oh my gosh.
my sergeant shows up and he just sees how mad I am, right? He because I'm trying to come down. I'm trying, but he walks over. He goes, "What were you?" That's the he goes, "What were you thinking?" He goes, and he told me about that bash maneuver. He goes, "Sir, do you think a real good heartfelt apology would do me any good right now?" And I sergeant said, "Son, I don't think you want to be anywhere near that officer right now." And then it went away. And then, of course, because we're chasing him because he assaulted 2 women with a machete and tried to run over them with a car. That was what started the whole thing. Then we went back and arrested one of the women for an outstanding warrant.
Full circle.
Yeah, I mean, that's police work.
That's police work for you. The victim calls you, you arrest the suspect, and then you arrest the victim for just other shit. Like it's happened so many times. Or you get called, and the person who called is actually the suspect, and you find out you're like, well, I have this one. Oh shit, I got to arrest this one too. Figure it out later, and then you're like, I'm actually going to let this one go. Oh wait, no warrant. And I'm just going to take both of you, but you're being arrested for this, and he's just going for a warrant. He'll be out tomorrow.
I mean, how many times did you have the drunk driver show up to pick up the car for the drunk driver you just arrested? They show up drunk to pick up the car.
Oh my gosh. I've had a guy, he crashed into like 7 parked cars and came to stop and rest on the curb, and then got out, walked inside of an apartment, act like he was there, and then when the cops got there, Dum came back out to be like, what happened? What happened? Whose car is that? Hey there. And then he starts going through the car, and I'm like, hey man, what are you doing? Because he didn't see us. He saw us right then, and then he saw us walk away thinking we left, but we had the new Explorers, because we lost all our Crown Vics, ran out, and they were like 160,000, 180 that we were taking them to the break because we didn't want to get rid of them because they were amazing. We got the new Explorers, but the new Explorers had the LED light bars, so they were real clear and real like low profile, and we were just parked behind a bunch of cars, and we're like, is that the fucking suspect? Because he was out earlier like asking like what happened, and then we saw him going through the car, and I'm like, what? And I think it's the suspect. And then dude came back to get his shit out of the car with the cops there, and I'm like, you dumb son of a bitch. And we go over like, hey man, what are you doing? We look, I'm like, what you guys can't be going in the car, we're towing it right now.
Yeah.
And we were all happy. We're like, fuck yeah, that guy left. Like we just got a traffic. And they're like, no, we don't know this motherfucker. Yeah. He walked in. We didn't, do you know him? We're like, we think he's a driver. I'm like, oh, this motherfucker, he's a driver. And then we found the stuff in the car with his picture on it. And I'm like, yep, you're the driver. And we hooked him up.
Yeah.
I was like, "Dad, these people are just criminals are just dumb sometimes."
Well, I tell her anytime I would speak to a recruit class, I'd welcome to the world if you just can't make this shit up.
Right.
Stephen King couldn't come up with some of the stuff that we see out there, just dumb criminals.
Yeah, I was driving into work one day, and this was just silly, but I knew she was going to get arrested, and I was going into work, and I'm driving in, and I see her sitting, this lady drugged out of her mind, sitting there on top of a bus bench. And she's sitting there, she's all doing one of these, and I'm like, oh, you're high. And then I see her, I'm at the red light, and I see her go, ass end goes up, ass end over tea kettle, or whatever, however that saying goes, falls right on her head, boom. And I'm like, oh, I'm just watching this. And then she stands up. She was wearing a tube top because it's summertime, tops down, and I'm like, holy crap. And then she's all just goes back, doesn't pull it up, just goes back and sits on the perch, just like where she was on the bus bench. And I'm like, she's going to get arrested. So we go do roll call and come out. And me and a couple other guys on mids were like trying to hustle and stuff for who could get as many warrant arrests in a day, who could get as many arrests in a day. So we'd be trying to get as many as we can. I think I got up to like 3 or 4, because in a 10-hour shift, you're trying not to go overtime, but you're going to go overtime a little bit because they weren't really wanting to pay at that time. You try to get as many as you can. And they're like, hey, they ran out. They already had they got there early. And I'm like, you guys game the system, and they run out. And then, so I hear them go code 6 in the same location. I was like, what are the chances they're arresting her? And I'm like, no way she's still there. Cause this had been like an hour, still there, still topless, just chilling. I'm like, yeah, this is crazy, man. You just see some of the weirdest things. You're like, you can't make this up. Or then the guy comes out of the house and you fucking see stabbing himself, and you end up taking him in. You think that there's a bunch of dead people in there because that's how the call came in. And no, he's just 5150.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So your story about that woman reminds me, there's have you seen the YouTube channel that does the Tweaker Geographic?
No, I haven't.
With a
but that's
David
amazing.
Attenborough voice.
Yeah,
it's hilarious because what you just said would perfectly, if that got filmed, that would fit their YouTube channel. So I don't even know the name of the YouTube channel itself, but it always starts out on the next episode of Tweaker Geographic.
Oh my God, is it like the old Steve Irwin voice?
No, it's David Attenborough.
Oh, okay.
The old English guy that does all the nature shows.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wow. You do Tweaker Geographic, you'll find it.
I'm gonna
you'll be like,
later.
I probably saw that person.
Right? That's hilarious. Now you were involved. I mean, you Georgia boys, you guys get into some crazy pursuits. I've seen your stuff online, and they're always the best when they come out of Georgia.
Yeah, there's a few counties around here that they have some spectacular ones. Believe it or not, I think I was involved in 3 car chases. That was it. Nobody, I couldn't get people to run from me.
They're like, nope, I'm in Georgia. I know what happens.
We would even give them a head start, right? We'd be running, moving radar, going the opposite direction, turn around on them, let them get some distance, turn on the blue lights way before you ever catch up with them, and just hope that they think that they can. No, they pull over. They pull over and wait on me. All my other, buddies are like, they're in pursuit. And I know it's dangerous, and I get it. And the older I got, the more I was like, is somebody stolen TV really worth risking a family in a car if they blows a red light?
Right.
But if you're out there in the middle of the night and there's nobody on the road, and it's you and them, chases are just fun.
Absolutely.
But
it's like kind of like NASCAR drifting in real life, and you you get to do it and you get paid for it, and you're like, this is awesome, until you turn and your car don't move.
I look back and go, Jesus Christ, I am so lucky to be alive. You have the Crown Vic. I'm on I-20, middle of the night, no other traffic, and I'm driving so fast that the car is floating, and I'm actually using 3 lanes as it's floating back and forth. I don't even know if there was any weight on the tires.
Probably not. You're just levitating, or you get done and you're like, ooh, that was slipping. And then you get out after everything's done, and you look at your rotors and they're glowing, and you're like, oh, I'm glad that ended, because
I passed a couple of turns because there just was no stopping. Mm-hmm. That brake fade is real.
Yeah.
And we had hubcaps. Our county manager didn't like the look of just the center caps or whatever. So we had full hubcaps covering our wheels, holding that heat in there
Oh wow.
because
Yeah.
he liked the looks of it.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's not
he's
good.
way gone now, but that was back in the day.
That's crazy. Yeah, we had those you would see them in a lot of like race cars and stuff where they have all the, like the holes and shit on them, so they allow the air to breathe and stuff like that, and the big oversized calipers.
Mm-hmm.
And we would still get them to slip, and there was times where I hit the brake and I was like, oh shit, it ain't breaking, and I'm like, I gotta hit the median. I'd rather hit the median and destroy city property than in the rear end a family and hurt a family on the
Yeah.
inside. I'd rather just destroy our own vehicle.
Yep.
And boom, you hit that median, you're like, oh shit, you get a little airborne, and then it comes to a stop and you're like, all right, cool, and then you clear it and you go. And you look at the car later, nothing's wrong with it. You're like, fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, that was awesome. Let's drive a little slower. You know, you get into that zone we talked about earlier, tunnel vision. If you don't have a partner, it's really easy to get into tunnel vision, and it's hard to break it, you know. But man, so you were involved in a few pursuits and 2 crashes, which is wild. And I know that probably that and your OAS, and you know, we didn't get into your partner OAS. I would like to touch on that and then get into after you retired and the mental health side and you know, all that stuff, and to see how you got through all that, because I'm surmising it's probably got pretty rough after you retired.
Yeah, so I'll go over real quick for time's sake. So my partner, we were having a busy day and there was calls holding, and I just happened to be driving past one of them that was holding. I was like, radio, I got this. It's just a suspicious person call, no big deal.
Right.
So I pulled in. Well, what it was 2 guys backed in next to a check cashing place. They were casing it because they were getting ready to rob it.
Oh, 211 suspects there now.
So I pull in, I make contact with them, and I'm talking with him. I get the driver's license, and I check him. Nothing, no wants, no warrants, valid license. He's answering my questions. I try to talk to his brother. Turned out to be his brother. Talk to him. He starts rocking back and forth and speaking in tongues. And then the driver starts trying to talk for him and answer his questions. Like, that ain't right. So I went around and asked him for his name and date of birth, checked him on the computer, came back not on file. I was like, okay, he's lying to me about who he is because he's got warrants. And about 5 minutes passes, and radio checks on me, and I was like, yeah, I'm code 4 at present. And so another guy's like, hey, I'll be en route to him. And then the one that actually ended up getting shot says, no, I'm closer. I'll be en route to him. So he pulls in, and I'm standing here with the passenger who is my focus because he's lied to me about who he is. Other guy's valid. And so I told him, I was like, you watch him. And I looked down, I was like, hey man, there's a roach on the ground. For us, it's signal 38 is drugs. So I was like, hey man, 38, go ahead and just let's separate them. So he gets him to step out. Well, he don't want to be patted down. He starts doing that little perp dance where he won't turn around. Why, that kind of stuff. Why are you doing this? What's going on? So I focused to see if I'm going to have to go help him. Well, the passenger throws the door open and punches me in the face and takes off running. Well, Beagle's going to chase the rabbit, right? So I go after him. We're going through a busy intersection during rush hour traffic during the evening. And so I'm dodging cars. He's dodging cars. We're running. He does the perp jump off of about a 20-foot wall. I'm like, yeah, nope. So I had to take the long way, and he gets over a hill and gets away. I don't hear anything else that's going on. And then when the first backup officer gets to me, he's like, hey, man, Andy's been shot. I'm like, no, he was just in a fight. I heard him say I've been hit over the radio, but he's just in a fight. I thought he just got punched like I did. He goes, no, dude, he's been shot. That was like getting kicked in the gut.
Wow.
And they always tell you don't read the paper or watch the news afterwards, because the way the paper reported it the next day was, while this officer was being shot, the other officer ran away. Oh, thanks, guys. That really,
oh my gosh, did you dirty?
That's special. So anyway, but like I said, he was back at the precinct before I was even done with the internal affairs interview, because it was just a glancing blow. I think Oakley actually acknowledged it, that the bullet had been deflected by their sunglasses and saved his life.
No shit.
Yeah. So.
Well, and what year was that?
Yeah, that was in 2005. And then 2006 is when I was in my second shooting. And this is important because it goes into the mental health stuff. So
Yeah.
the second shooting, like I said, my first one was the very first call of the day on a Sunday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning. This was, I had moved to night shift, so this was our very last call of the day at 6:30 in the morning. It was in a trailer park, and it was dispatched as a domestic with a fight. And I get there, and there's a woman with a gash in the side of her head, looked like she'd been hit with an axe. And she's screaming in Spanish. Somebody's translating for us. The kids are in the trailer, but the trailer's locked. We can't get in. Finally, a kid, 9 or 10 years old, comes running out screaming to her. And you don't even have to speak English to understand the panic of a mother.
Absolutely.
You hear the panic in her voice. Don't have any idea what words she's saying, but it's just there. So I had to grab her and say, no, let us go in. So we go in, and I ended up in front. It's just me and my beat partner, just the two of us. And you've been in a single wide mobile home. As you're going back to the back bedroom, there's that very narrow hallway that goes past the laundry or the bathroom or however they're set up, but it's a very narrow hallway.
Yeah.
Only enough room for one person. And so I get to that back bedroom and I start, slicing that pie, looking into that room, and he comes into view, and there's a guy on the bed on his knees, and he's got a rock in his hand about the size you'd be able to hold in your hand, about that big. And I look down, and he is holding a kid down. He's actively murdering his children when I walked in the room.
Whoa.
So this kid is bloody because he's beating him on the head with a rock, trying to kill him. And I point at him, and I was like, man, drop the rock or I'm going to shoot you. And he cocked. And I was like, nope, I can't close that distance before he hits that kid again with that rock. So I shot him one time. And this goes back to that the way the brain works. I didn't hear the gun go off, but I heard the empty shell casing hit the wall. I heard that little tink. And I felt it come back and hit me on the nose. So he goes down immediately because I shot him in the face. So he just drops immediately.
Yeah.
My beat partner goes to get that kid. I go around the bed to get the little girl that's on the bed. I guess she was in line waiting to be next. So as I go around the bed, I notice there's damage to the plastic casing of the TV. And I was like, Jesus Christ, that bullet went through him and was within just a couple of feet of her where it hit the TV. And so I grabbed her up. She was about 3 or 4 years old. I grabbed her up and took her out and got her to the paramedics because the mom had been injured. So paramedics were already on scene. It was a police EMS call. And so they're already there. So we just take the kids out to them. And several minutes go by. Well, back up. I took a paramedic in to confirm that he was beyond help. And they said, no, there's nothing we can do for him. So we went back out and waited for several minutes for the sergeants to get from the precinct down to the scene. And this needs to be addressed where supervisors say, take me into the scene and show me what happened. How about you stay out of the scene and let the detectives do their thing? You don't need to go in and contaminate. You don't need to go be nosy and see what happened.
You can do that shit later.
Yeah. Luckily, this one actually worked out because when we went back in to show the sergeant what happened, because that was just routine back then, the guy's leg is moving. He's like, this guy ain't dead. I was like, dude's dead. Why is he moving? I was like, I don't know. So I grabbed the body and rolled him over, and we pulled the covers back, and there was a 1-year-old. He had the 1-year-old under him and the other kid suffocating the 1-year-old. That's how he was going to kill the baby.
Oh, my gosh.
So the baby's blue. I grabbed the baby up, run it out to the paramedics. Long story short, all the kids survived.
That's great.
Everybody survived.
Whew.
Now, 14, 15 years later, our DUI task force ended up in a pursuit, chased the kid back to that trailer, caught him, and they're like, why did you run from the police? He goes, because the police killed my daddy when I was little, and I'm scared of you. So that was one of the kids that I had saved that day that was now running from the police because he's scared because no telling what story mom told him. But it turned out that he was trying to kill the entire family because he was upset over George Bush's immigration reform. So instead of worrying about being deported, he was just going to kill the whole family.
Oh my gosh.
That was his plan. So,
whoa.
This is where the mental health really starts kicking in.
Yeah.
As far as because I teach classes and I was teaching the recruits and stuff. So after the first shooting, I was told to read a book called Deadly Force Encounters by Dr. Alexis Artwall.
Uh-huh.
And it talks about the physiological effects that can happen during traumatic events. So fast forward to the second shooting, After it's all over, I was like, hey, listen, during the shooting, there was a kid standing here. He was wearing this shirt, these pants. He's this tall. He's this age. His hair I described him, right? I said, we need to find him because I didn't see him come out of the trailer. I think he may be hiding somewhere or maybe went to a neighbor's house and I missed it, whatever the case may be. But there's another kid that we didn't find. We need to make sure this kid's okay. A little bit later, they came and said, hey, we had a Spanish-speaking officer come talk to mom. All the kids are accounted for. My brain made up a whole nother kid that was never there. Now, having read that book, I was mentally prepared for that because I understand the brain does some weird things. So instead of going, oh my God, I'm hallucinating, I'm going crazy and fretting over it and worrying about seeing something that wasn't there, I went, okay, that's normal, and let it go, and it was over.
Right.
So my big thing is teaching people at the beginning of their career about the parts of the brain, about the chemicals in our body, what they do, how they react, what causes you to do certain things in certain situations, so that when these things happen, you go, oh, okay, I remember talking about that. This is normal. I don't have to worry about being
Right.
crazy or unusual or the freak or whatever. This is normal.
Wow.
So they're prepared for it at the beginning of their career instead of being like me at the end of the career. So if you prepare people, they don't have to get to the point that we got to.
Right.
Because it was this right here. This little girl right here is what actually set me off when I was a lieutenant. I responded to a car fire with an entrapment.
Okay.
And me and that officer, we were the first two on scene, and it was a single lane gravel road through the woods. You've seen cars on fire. They're an inferno. Fire's too big to get past it because of the narrow road. So we had to stop. So he stops, I stop, whoever's next. Fire department is 4 or 5 cars back, and they're having to pull the hoses up. So this fire is really rolling. The dad is on scene. This is an 18-year-old girl that was driving, and the dad is on scene because it happened just right near the house. The boyfriend jumped out of the car because she was pinned. He couldn't get her out, so he ran and got dad. They come back and couldn't get it out. And so I'm sitting there looking at this guy. He has no emotion. This man is dead inside. There's nothing behind the eyes. And the fire department finally gets this flame out, and I turn around and look, and there's this charred skeleton that's hanging out the window. The face is looking up to the sky. And in my mind, right then, I became that dad. My little girl, because my son was the same age
right
at the time. My child is now pinned in this vehicle. I have the ability to, you can see, I mean, she was out the window, about to the waist, maybe just below the ribs, because that's what was out the window. Child screaming, "Daddy, help me. Daddy, help me," as they're burning to death. And you eventually have to let go because the fire has gotten to the point that you can't breathe. There's no oxygen there. You can't physically deal with it. And you have to back off and watch your child die. And brother, that is what sent me into a damn tailspin. I came really close to eating around while working a part-time one day. I gun out of the holster, depression, just like that. I was done. So you never know. All of the shootings, like I said at the beginning of this, they didn't bother me at the time. What happened, that one call, this fire, and I never met this family, but wearing this bracelet with her name on it, it was so helpful when I got it, and I haven't taken it off since, but except for a couple of occasions for surgery or whatever. But I wear it every day, and it reminds me. But that one call, you never know what that call is going to be that triggers you and brings all that other shit back like an avalanche.
Yeah. It's there's this theory that I've been other places, but we used to talk about it in peer support when we do our steering committees. And it's knowing when your glass, is it half full? Is it half empty? Is it full and overflowing? And it's kind of, sometimes it's when you're going through stuff, it's kind of hard to tell where that level is until it's kind of too late.
Yep.
And the goal is to try to be able to recognize it and have that awareness before it ever gets there. So being self-conscious or self-aware of it, telling us so we can go tell other people so they can start thinking about it, because most people don't ever think about it. And you get to a point where it just boils and boils and boils, and then it's overflowing, and it's to the point where it's that one thing sets it off, and now everything comes flooding back to you. But I have to say that's a pretty gnarly thing to go through, not only in law, like as a cop and responder, but I can't imagine what that father, like how he's doing, and I think that's tough, really tough, because we can put ourselves there in that position, because I have kids. I have a daughter right now, and that just scares the shit out of me because she's 16 and driving, right?
Yeah, and that's another aspect. So you don't know what somebody's history is,
right?
As to why this is bothering them. We had a fatality that killed the mom who was driving, and it killed the infant in the back seat. And this infant was almost the exact same age as my daughter at the time.
Yeah.
And my wife, I was telling the story. I was like, this happened afterwards, and she's like, "It's not what happened."
Right.
And she said what happened. I'm like, yeah, to this day, I have no recollection of what she's telling me actually occurred, because my brain just said, nah, we're not remembering that.
Right.
So, you're familiar with the ACEs, the ACE score?
No. I probably heard of it, but I'm so bad with.
So it's adverse childhood experiences. You can do it. It's like a 10 question. You can go online and do it. So the more of these you answer, basically the worse childhood you had. So you're working with your partner. You don't know what kind of childhood he had. And I've asked people, I was like, how long you work together? Oh, we've been partners for 10, 12 years. Okay, tell me something about his childhood. What? Tell me something about his childhood. What are you talking about? Exactly. You don't know anything about his childhood. So when you go to an abuse case, you don't know that memory is not going to bring something back from his abuse as a child that's going to render him to become emotional in a sad way, or become emotional enraged and do something stupid because he's going back to that childhood.
Right.
Just knowing the history of somebody can help, but understanding and helping them get through it. So that's why I started teaching. I developed a class for our recruits. So it's finances, it's parts of the brain, it's the chemicals, it's the family life balance, all that kind of stuff. Because if you'd asked me, if you said, Chris, are you okay? From 98 until 2016 or 18 or 2018, I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. Okay, now go ask my wife and kids and see what answer they give you.
You're like, no.
I found out very late in my career. Very late in my career, I found out that my kids would look at my face when I came home and decide whether they were going to stay out and talk to me or retreat to their rooms and just stay away from me. I had no idea. But that was the life they were living, was which dad is coming home tonight.
Right. Depending on what you saw and what you had to deal with, it's rough. And we don't like to talk about that stuff because we don't want to burden our family with the shit that we see. And I learned, someone in my academy class said, like, the best way to keep your marriage going is to talk about the shit that you do, talk about the stuff. So there's no secrets and stuff, but I still like try to keep things. When I got remarried, I tried to keep things, to a point. I don't want them to.
Yeah. And I talk about communication in my class. You've got to communicate. If you just come home and say, I was fine, nothing happened. And they're like, well, if nothing happened, what's wrong with you? If you don't tell them something bad occurred, I had a bad day, I had a child death, you don't have to give them the nitty gritty details.
No.
You don't have to tell them what the body looked like, but you can say, I had this type of call today. It bothered me. Give me some time. Give me 30 minutes to decompress, and then I'll come out and I'll be husband, I'll be dad, I'll be human. But if you just go home and go, nah, everything's fine, nothing happened today, I'm not talking about it, and you sit in your chair and you start flipping through the channels and you give it the I don't care what we have for dinner answer and all that kind of stuff, eventually the spouse is going to say, well, it must be me then, because he's saying the job's not bothering him, so it must be me. And then the marriage goes to hell. Communicate. The spouses also need to communicate, because I have a lot of them go, I don't want to know what you do for the day. So if you don't know what I'm doing for the day, then you're making it up, and it's probably worse in your head than it really was. because
Yeah.
98% of our job is taking somebody else's problem and writing it in a report.
Yeah. 100%.
So it's not that bad. Yes, it can get very bad very quickly, but we have to communicate, and that's all part of telling the war stories and telling the stories and stuff like that. I love to sit and talk about it and share it with people and hear your story. But at the end of the day, we have to grow from it and say, this is what happened to me. This is not who I am. Let's get through this and let's find ways. There's so many resources out there, so many, and let's find a way, because not one single thing helps everybody. TMS, EMDR, all that stuff, it may help you, it may not help me. So there's all these resources out there, though, that we can find something to get you through this.
Right. Exactly. And I always think like the first part of that is just talk to someone, let them know how you feel. You don't have to tell them everything what's going on. Just let them know how you feel, what's kind of going on, because they can't see inside you. They don't know what's going on in your head. Right. Only you do. And sometimes you might get angry and you'd be like, they should know what's going on because they've been with me for such a long time or whatever. And no, you have to say, hey, this is what's going on. This is why I feel this way. This is why I'm acting this way. This is what's wrong, and I try to learn that. And no one's perfect. And I fall short of that all the time. I just had to deal with a kid getting hit, and I'm retired. And I was the only person there that knew how to do anything. And I saw them handling this child. I'm like, dude, they're going to kill this kid. He was, and I don't even know if he made it, but I know it would have been way worse if I wasn't on scene. And this poor kid, and after I helped his whole C-spine and load him up in the ambulance and they took off, man, I'm just seeing this poor little kid's face still, looking for his mom and shit like that. And I told my wife what was going on. Like, hey, this is what happened. So if, whatever, if I'm a little bit more than whatever, just, this is probably why. And she, I try to keep her all the time. And, even when I was in, before I retired, even if I had a bad day, I would try to tell her, but, I always fell short of it because I didn't want to, hold so much over her head, because I felt bad, because when we first got together, I got into an OIS and I kind of used her to vent a little bit, and she kind of got silent, and I was like, she thinks I'm fucking crazy. And then I kind of tried to hold back, and, there would be times where she would ask me about parts of my job and I'd be real vague about it. And then one day I told her, she was like, how many dead bodies have you seen? I was like, what do you, like, today or this week? Like this month? And she's like, that's a crazy answer. And I was like, no, I mean, like, I don't know. She's like, well, how about this month? And I was like, I don't know, probably 10, 12. And she's like, that's not normal. And I'm like, you're right. That's probably not normal. And then I was like, I don't know if I want to keep talking to her and telling her stuff, but I would. And, and I think she leveled me. She helped me level myself a lot. Because we go through this constantly in this job, and we're like, that's normal. That's a Monday. That's a Tuesday. That's our Friday, and people are looking at you like, that's fucking crazy. If I would have seen that. And I saw it just recently with all these people, this child being struck in front of everybody, bleeding from the face, starting to fade at the end, all this crazy shit. No one knew what they were doing. Everyone's crying, they're screaming, and I'm having to, hey, stop, look at this. Hey, do this. Hey, do that. And I'm the calm one, because it's just another day for me. Yep. Right. Because my body's conditioned for that. And I'm looking at them, and it's a real reminder when everything's said and done and they come up to you and their tears are pouring out of their face and they're crying and they're saying, thank you for helping. Thank you for keeping me on point. Thank you for telling me what to do. And they're crying, and because they just saw this little kid almost die in front of them, and shit, the kid still might have, I don't know. I don't have closure. I don't know what happened after they loaded him up, other than he became unresponsive at the end. And so seeing all this stuff, and you're like, fuck, and you're looking at them, you're like, really makes you think, fuck, I handled that way different than they did. It's not normal. It's our normal, but it's not normal.
Yeah.
They're dealing with their feelings now.
Even if you don't get to the point of depression or suicidal ideation, the job still changes you.
Oh yeah.
It down to your DNA. I mean, it's just like you said, the way we handle things. Somebody says, well, this happened, and you're like, and it's okay. It's just
like, that was stressful. You're like,
yeah,
really?
Yeah. So, but yeah, you're gonna hit retirement real quick. I really struggled with the physical parts after I was to the point at the end of my career that I was afraid my filter was going to fail and I was going to get myself in trouble. I basically had to retire as soon as my eligibility came along. I didn't want to. I still loved the job, but
Right.
there were certain aspects of it that just like this is going to get me in trouble before I have the chance to retire if I don't just go. So I went ahead and retired as soon as I had the eligibility. Um, but the depression, the anxiety continued, the suicidal ideation continued. I was
Oh
still trying
no.
to stay busy and talk to groups and teach things and do this, that, and the other. But then I'd go home and it'd just be like, I just feel exhausted.
Yeah.
And I went through phases. I don't know about how you went through, but for sleeping, I didn't want to go to sleep because I didn't want to deal with the nightmares. So I would struggle. I could sleep. It's not like I had insomnia where I just couldn't sleep for days. I could sleep. I just didn't want to. And so I would lay awake till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I'd see the sun come up. And this went on for months.
Hmm.
And finally I would eventually fall asleep and I'd have the nightmares, the bad dreams and whatever. And eventually I was like, what is the point of fighting this if I'm going to have the dreams anyway? If I sleep during the day or sleep during the night, I'm still having the nightmares. So I started going to bed at a more normal time. And when I'd lay down, I basically became accepting of it. I was like, okay, let's see what adventures we go on tonight. And I'd kind of make a joke of it, and I'd go to sleep. And of course, I'd have the crazy dreams, the job related stuff,
Yeah.
people trying to kill me trying to kill people, whatever.
I
It
still
all
have those, by the
continued.
way.
And so that went on for a while.
Yeah.
And now they've eventually kind of subsided. The dreams have. I've been retired now for 3 years.
Yeah.
So finally, they have kind of subsided. I still have crazy dreams. I still have weird, but
Yeah, me too.
But it's not as bad anymore.
Right.
I've been involved in a couple of nonprofits, so that kind of keeps me busy. But yeah, the phases, the startle response, like you were talking about the fireworks, that hit me after retirement. Somebody would do something and I would nearly jump out of my skin. If I take the dog out after dark to go to the bathroom, I'm taking a spotlight. I'm checking under the shrubs for anybody that may be there to ambush me. I'm watching any vehicles going up and down the road to see if the windows are coming down, to see if they're, somebody that I arrested has finally found me. And, that's in my head. So every car is a suspect driving past my house.
Yeah.
And it took months, a couple of years for that. It was almost like it kind of oozed out of my pores. And now I'm better. Right?
Yes.
And
yes.
It's there's still a slight hint of it in some cases. I still jump with some things, but it does get better.
Yeah.
You just have to be aware that it can get better. The brain is like a bone. Mm-hmm. What we go through, there are physical things breaking in our heads, right? Physical injury. And then once we start getting the therapy or the counseling or the treatments or whatever, and we start understanding we want to get the help and we accept the help, those things start healing and we can get better.
You can change your brain. It's a very real thing. You can definitely do that. And yeah, I did go through a lot of that stuff, and I still, I'll be driving home and be like, this car's following me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do this. Let's do that. And now I'm going to stop. And I would stop and pull over and see what happens.
Yep.
There's times when that happens and you're like, well, that was weird, because you clock certain things. Like I still know cars behind me. I know how many cars are behind me. I know what car's been behind me for how long. I'm still clocking it. I'm also, scanning. It's just, we're so hyper aware, and that's just ingrained into us because that was a survival mechanism that we did for a career. And that's how we stayed alive, because that's what we were told to do. If you want to, make sure that you're to someone not to get the drop on you, you need to be aware of your surroundings at all times, even when you're off duty, because people can find you. I've run into many incidents and occurrences where I've seen people that I've arrested in the place that I lived, and that place was far from where I worked. And I'm like, that this can come at you. Arrested people that were lived right next to my daughter's school. And again, lived very far away from the area that I worked. And I was like, wow, this is really close, and this is too close for comfort. And so you start getting those things. I almost got into an OAS off duty. Someone tried to open the door with me and my kids inside, fucking gun straight to the glass, like there's these things that happen and it's just like, I don't know. And it's tough. And then when you get retire, it's the quiet seeps in, and then sometimes you don't feel like you have purpose, and you have to start finding those things. And once you find those things, at least for me, once I started finding those things and now I have more purpose in life, I also have another career that I'm doing, and that gives me meaning and purpose. And I think as men, not just cops, but men, we need to have a purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that's just in our DNA and ingrained, since caveman era days, where your purpose was to hunt, to forage, kill, bring back food for your cave woman and your kids. Right. And that's how you went on. Right. So it goes back to that, I think, for, that's my personal opinion on it. But
when it comes down to it, I mean, the amygdala is your response center for fight, flight, or freeze. And the amygdala doesn't know that it's 2026. As far as it's concerned, it could still be 3000 BC or something.
Yeah,
exactly. It doesn't know. When the threat happens, the brain reacts.
Exactly.
It's our training and our experience that allows us to control it and not fly off the handle and do something dumb.
Exactly. Now, I've told people what kind of helped me when, I've retired and things that have happened to me in my career. After the stuff that has happened in your career when you retired, what is two parts? What is one thing before we get to your dedication? Because I know you have a dedication. What is one thing that you could pass on to others that are coming on, that are newer, coming onto the job, or maybe that are on the job? And what is one thing that helped you that you think could help others?
So for coming onto the job, learn the body, learn what it does and why it does it, so that you understand why you have the physical reaction that you have, whatever it may be. Because everybody's different with that.
Sure.
So just be aware of it so that you understand it. So when it happens, you can go, okay, that's normal. I can move on, or I can talk to somebody, get counseling, whatever the level of help you need to get. What was the second question?
During your career, all the stuff that has happened to you in your career, once you retired, what is one thing that helped you that you think could help others?
Keep moving, keep doing something, because everybody I talk to feels like they've been abandoned, because the chief doesn't have time to call everybody every month to check on their retirees. Get a circle of friends, keep moving, do something, stay constructive. Don't just stop and die.
Perfect. Yeah. There's too many coppers that I know when they retire, you hear about them 4 years later, they're dead.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn. And I go back to what I originally just said, purpose. Find your purpose.
Yep. Find
something constructive to do. I mean, my dad he's retired. He's been retired for a hot minute, and he's a retired cop. And he's CHP out of California. And he tried finding purpose, and he did it. And then until he got sick, and he's still alive. And he's beat cancer twice, and we're hoping it sticks this time, but he had massive surgery, and he's 140 pounds. He hasn't been that weight since middle school. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, find your purpose, man. I keep telling him, like, you keep withering away. I need you around for the kids. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to fly out. I'm like, find your purpose. And I keep trying to harp it on him, but it's sometimes I feel like it's not working. And you look at other people that are his age, and I know he's had cancer and everything, but I'm like, I feel like if you would have more purpose, you would be in better shape than you are now, and this wouldn't be as hard. Yeah. That's just me, I think, being Monday morning quarterback and me being critical, but I really think that that's the thing. Like, find yourself purpose, do something, like you said, constructive, get out there, keep moving. And I don't know you at all, but we have the same ideas. So I mean, that might be onto something right there,
Well, and don't wait for it to come to you. Right? Don't just sit around and wait because I had this conversation just a couple of days ago.
Sure.
Well, us retirees, we're abandoned. The department never does anything. It's not the department. The department never loved you.
No.
Everybody that retires, the department keeps going. It's going to keep going regardless of who leaves. The job, the department doesn't. Individuals loved you. Focus on those who you still have contact with, and don't worry about the ones that don't call you. And if you really are that concerned about it, your phone dials out. Call them.
Exactly.
Say, hey, man, what's up? Don't wait for them, because our department like LAPD. How many people retire from LAPD every year? Who can keep up with that many people and say
hundreds?
And go, hey, you doing good once a month or once every 6 months? You can't. Don't wait on it to come to you. find your circle, find your tribe, stick with them, and focus on the quality, not the quantity of people that you still talk to.
True words never true words couldn't have been more and spoken. That's perfect. Now as we get ready to close out, we always like to give our guests a chance to dedicate the episode to a fallen brother or sister. Now I understand that you do have that dedication, Chris.
Yep.
So at this time, go for it.
Well, this is a young man that I actually never knew. I was working the day that he took his own life, and so as the peer support commander, I responded to the scene to take care of the officers who were on scene dealing with one of their own being down. Since then, I have become very close with the family, which is very unusual to do that. So I've become part of this nonprofit. It's called Got You Covered Blankets, and dedicated to Mitchell Georgiana. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes,
Mitchell
I can.
Georgiana there. And in his name and his honor, we give blankets to police departments, and there were these really nice fleece blankets too. We give them free of charge to police departments to give them to their community in times of need, whether it's, somebody injured or cold or on the side of a road after a wreck, whatever. They can give them to them for whatever reason they need to give them to them. But when we give them out, we talk with the chief or the sheriff, and we talk about and we really try to impress upon them the importance of peer support and mental health protection. Absolutely. And stuff like that to take care of their troops so that we don't have to put somebody in their department's name on a blanket. So
absolutely.
So Mitchell Georgiana is still living. His death was not in vain, and we have helped a lot of people because of this cause.
Wow. Well, Mitchell Georgiana, rest easy, brother. We've got it from here. And I would like you to give that out one more time, where that nonprofit is, where people who are listening, who work for departments, who are like, that sounds like a great idea. Let's go there. Let's grab some blankets. So what was that one more time?
So it's Gotcha Covered Blankets.
Gotcha
It's
Covered
all
Blankets.
one word, GOTCHA, coveredblankets.com if you want to go to the website. We are very local because we hand deliver the blankets. So we're basically the north half of Georgia. Now, occasionally we will have blankets when somebody's going overseas. So we've got blankets, I think, in 7 or 8 different countries now that have been taken to somebody that's traveling, and they take them and give just as a single token to give to a local police department there. So I know they're in India and Israel and I think 4 countries in Africa. I can't remember which ones off the top of my head, but they are traveling around the world. But yeah, it's the mission is to give them a way to bridge a gap and deal with the community and give somebody something that they need. And then we bring in the mental health aspect of it when we speak, and we do public speaking announcement or public speaking engagements as well to help with that.
That's beautiful. And again, that was Gotcha Covered Blankets. If you're working for an agency or you're a fire or you work for the city and you know someone who could use this stuff, reach out to them, explain your situation, tell them what's going on, and get those blankets out there for your community. That's a great idea. Chris, it was such an honor to have you on today. Very, very powerful stories, and this stuff about mental health and peer support. Wow, that's amazing. And you're doing great work right now. And I say you better keep doing this, because this is what you're made to do after retirement. And it's awesome. Thank you all today for tuning in. If you joined today's episode, make sure to follow us on our Instagram at war_stories_official. That will be changing to Warlocker, and our Facebook at War Stories Podcast. Check us out in the link in our bio there. You can check everything, all the socials. We're going to have to update the new social to the Spreaker stuff. And as we're doing the name change and everything. But hey, check us out on YouTube. YouTube is there. You can get all of the lives, notifications, click the bell, all that stuff. So you're notified anytime we go live, and anytime a podcast drops, it will drop there as well. But be sure to check us out on every major streaming podcast platform so that you can be notified, and they have bells and notifications there that you can be set up anytime we drop a new episode, because sometimes it does change. We're trying to do this whole new algorithm thing. So bear with us on that. We're going to take the website down for a little bit. So if you guys really want something, you can always reach out, DM, anything like that, and we'll get it out to you. I mean, there might be some giveaways coming up here shortly and stuff like that for promotion and things, where we'll be giving away a lot of merch that we have in stock. So check all that stuff out to be coming down the pipe. And if you have a story to tell, you know someone who does, please reach out to us, DM us, message us. You can also go to linkedin.com/War Stories Podcast. and share your info there. And that would be a great place to get booked and talked with Dylan there, the producer. So be sure to check us out there and everything. And I want to say, everybody, thank you for support. Stay safe. And until our next time, until our next episode, come home with your children on it.